Hey everyone, welcome back to a brand new deck profile. Today we're here for another kind of gimmicky, random expanded deck profile that I've been playing with lately. And this is the Ambipom Flip deck. Now, I did do an Ambipom stall deck the other day that relied more on using the Bustle attack and the Primate Dexterity ability. This is working more just like a gimmicky flip deck. You flip a bunch of energies, probably land a bunch of tails, and question your decisions while you're playing this deck. It's definitely not tourney good. You're not going to win a lot of games with it. It's just a lot of fun. If you're looking to just blow up some big VMAXs on the low ladder of Expanded, it's a fun time. If you're criticizing decisions about the deck building, you can fix anything because I've only played this deck maybe about 10 times. But I've had a really fun few games in the games where I did play it, so you know, there's some things to be had. Starting off, we have the Aipom here. 4 copies, 60 HP, Bustle, because you could potentially get immunity. There's a few other Aipoms you could use. The most notable one's probably the Cosmic Eclipse one. If we can go there. Oh, actually, there's 2 ones that you could use. This one right here is pretty good. Discard random cards from your opponent's hand until they have 5 in their hand. It's not at all bad, actually. I've considered using it. I don't have any on PTCGO, though, which is a problem. So if you did want to use that, I could definitely understand it. You could potentially discard a card from your opponent's hand. It's not really a disruption deck, though, so you don't really benefit much from discarding cards from your opponent's hand. There's also this one right here. Once during your turn, you may put the top card of your opponent's deck on the bottom. If your opponent uses something like a Primate Wisdom for the rare chance, Mallow, or something along those lines, you could put it to the bottom of the deck and just kind of screw with them. There's also this one right here. Look at the top 3 cards of your opponent's deck and put them back in any order. Could be good. Not that good, honestly, though. Sadly, you wish you had this one. This one's very good with the Tailcoat attack. That would be a great attack to use. Or this one right here with the Imitate attack would also be great to use. But these are obviously in the Harkle Silver era, so we don't have access to them. All of the good Aipoms are basically pre-Harkle Silver, like this one right here. This one right here is a Collect attack. This one right here is actually really good in EX era decks. This one right here is Tailcoat, and this one right here is Imitate. Yeah, past that we get a bunch of really meh ones besides. Like, these 3 are like the best options. I could see playing this one. I have this one, so that's what I play. And I don't think you're really getting much by discarding cards unless your opponent has like 11 card hand. But yeah, so we played that Aipom because of Bustle. That was a long discussion to say that you can pick which Aipom you like. 3 copies of the Ambipom with 90 HP means it's Level Ball searchable, Primate Dexterity. If any damage done to it, flip a coin if heads, prevent that damage. It's not effects of attacks, so they can put damage counters on you, they can you know, burn, poison you, etc., but it prevents like straight damage. And you're going to use that to hopefully keep the energy on that you pile on these things, because 90 HP and piling a bunch of energy on sounds pretty dangerous, and it is. Hopefully you flip 1 or 2 heads a game. I've had games where I've flipped 6 tails in a row, and there's just nothing I can do about that. Like, I lost to Lunatone Soul Rock, which is otherwise an auto win for this deck, but I just flipped 6 tails in a row, and or I think it was 7, yeah, because I did Life Dew tails too. Just didn't flip any head or any tails on the, or any heads on the ability, so I never prevented damage. Sorry if I'm stuttering. I'm a little tired. I've made like 5 videos today. Full Tilt Fling for 1 colorless, but you're going to be paying lots more. 6 times, flip a coin for each energy, does 60 for each heads. So you're just going to pile energy on here, get your Full Tilt Swing to hit for big numbers, and yeah, that's the deck strategy. Play 3 copies of Cherubi. There is 2 different Cherubis. I play this one because it has 50 HP and 1 retreat cost. Surprise attack maybe could be good if you hit a Pokemon with 60 HP that's like Grass Week. I can't think of an example of that, though. Great artwork, by the way. I love these little cross-stitch ones. There is the Cherubi that is more recent here from Brilliant Stars. Prevent all effects of attacks done to this Pokemon. So obviously that prevents like burn and poison and damage counters, but I just don't think it's good because it has 40 HP and the attack is unusable. And the 40 HP makes a lot of difference when there's stuff you see occasionally still like Tina Chomp running around and Expanded that can just snipe this for 40. Things like the Inteleon V, if you run into that and they're playing the non-rapid strike version. Things like that will take advantage of you on the low ladder, and I don't want that to happen. If the other one had like a bench barrier ability, it'd be a little bit better, but it doesn't. 2 copies of Cherrim, that's why we're playing the Cherubi line. As often as you like, you may attach Grass Energy from your hand to one of your Pokemon that doesn't have a rule box. That's why we're playing Grass Energy, is because we're using the Cherrim engine. And it also has an attack, 1 grass, 2 colorless, 70. If you're hitting for weakness, it's not actually bad. It's also Level Ball searchable again, so that's also pretty good. But you can hit for like 140 if you're hitting for weakness, and that's not too terrible. Like 2-hit KO a lot of things in Expanded. So I've used that attack before. It's not terrible. 2 copies of Gossifleur. I love this artwork, by the way. Sayasaru is very good. Call for Family. Search a deck for 3 basic Pokemon. This is undisputed the best Gossifleur. Call for Family is great as a starting attack. It's great in a pinch if you just need to retreat into it and call for Family. Very good. You play it though for the Eldegoss with Cotton Lift. Search your deck for up to 2 basic energy, reveal and put them into your hand. So you could just cut this line out entirely, honestly, and just go heavy on this. But I think this is honestly really good. It allows you to chain the Ambipoms a lot more easily, which I found to be very strong. So I quite like the Eldegoss line. It gives you a really good starter if you start Gossifleur, because starting these two, they're honestly not that great starters. They're usually just going to get a prize taken on them and accomplish nothing else. If you start Gossifleur, you're using Call for Family, which is great. This also does have an attack, 1 grass, 30 during your opponent's next turn, take 30 less. Again, if you can find something that's like 30 HP left or 60 HP, weak to grass. I have never used Cotton Guard before. 2 copies of Victini. This has the Victory Star ability. Once during your turn, after you flip any coins for an attack, you may ignore all results of the coin flips and begin flipping those coins again. So you get a second chance when you fail your full tilt flings if you don't like the result you get. Reflipping is not going to guarantee you a better result, though, just warning you. It does have 70 HP, and we'll get to it in a minute why you could change that. 1 copy of Jirachi with 90 HP right here. Again, Level Ball searchable, as is everything in this deck. When you play it from your hand onto your bench, you may search your deck for a supporter card. It's just great to have in any deck that plays Level Ball to give yourself supporter outs. You could potentially play a Scoop Up Net in here to take it off the field, but I haven't had too many problems with that since you're denying prizes anyway with Primate Dexterity. 2 copies of Research. Discard your hand, draw 7. I'm just playing my nice full art Junipers in here because that's what I felt like putting in this deck. Obviously you can run Juniper, Sycamore, Research, as long as you're not running Research Magnolia, because you're kind of a weirdo if you're running that card. That card is ugly, especially the Rainbow Rare version thereof. It's like the best draw card in Expanded. You don't want to discard too much though, so I go a little bit heavier on the shuffle draw in this deck, because you don't want to discard a lot of your item cards. 3 copies of Marnie. Each player shuffles their hand, puts it on the bottom of the deck, and then you draw 5, your opponent draws 4. You could potentially run N in here, and I don't think that would be bad, but you are sometimes going ahead in prizes if your opponent doesn't take prizes early on from Primate Dexterity. And Marnie's also just better overall when you're starting the game. You get yourself 5 new cards. You can play down the playable cards in your hand and then get 5 new cards instead of getting repeat cards. So I prefer Marnie a lot to N nowadays, but outside of like VMAX decks where N is great, because Marnie's just gets you 5 new cards and it disrupts the opponent pretty hard. A lot of opponents can just brick off of a turn 1 going second Marnie and take them a couple turns to get out of that, and that can be what really changes your game. 1 copy of Guzma. You're not going to gust a lot, but you switch your opponent's bench Pokemon with their active, and then you switch as well. You switching is not important. Everything retreats for 1 colorless besides Cherrim, but we have a U-Turn board in here, so everything retreats for 1 colorless. Worst case scenario, you can attach to Cherrim, but you're not going to Guzma up your own Cherrim. You're going to Guzma up literally anything else, probably another Ambipom, to go for an attack. You want to have Guzma in here, obviously. I wouldn't play Lysander in this deck. Guzma is better, and you want to have 1 copy of it at least. You could go 2 if you want, but you're really not gusting that often. A lot of times you're just blowing up whatever's in the active spot. 1 copy of Brigette. Now, search your deck for 1 basic EX or 3 basic Pokemon and put it onto your bench. You're never going to search Jirachi with this. You're going to search probably Aipom, Cherubi, Gossifleur off your first one, and then if you already have a second Aipom in play, you might want to get Cherubi, Gossifleur, Victini. Now, a way you could change this deck potentially is running the Victini from all the way back in the black and white era. There is this print, the full art, which I quite like, and then there's also this amazing artwork from Legendary Treasures. This one has the same Victory Star ability, all of them do. All the black and white era prints that all have the Victory Star ability would work. But you see that it's notably 60 HP. I play the 70 HP one in here with Brigette because I prefer that. But you could actually run Professor Elm's Lecture, and I'll show you that card just in case you are unfamiliar. So, if we go Professor Elm's Lecture, search your deck for up to 3 Pokemon with 60 HP or less, reveal them and put them into your hand. Putting them into your hand means that they actually, you can use it even if you have a full bench. So if you already have a full bench from like something like a Call for Family, Brigette kind of becomes a dead card, whereas something like Elm's Lecture could at least thin your deck by 3 cards by putting them into your hand. It's really up to you. If I get the Victini full art, maybe I'll play it in this deck, but I just think 70 HP is just better. 60 HP is an okay range to hit and expanded for a fair few decks, so I quite like Victini. This is one of the rare decks that also plays Brock's Grit in here. Shuffle 6 in any combination of Pokemon and basic energy from your discard pile into your deck. The nice evolutions print here, I quite like this card. You kind of have to play Brock's Grit, honestly, as weird as it sounds, because you just lose a lot of energy and Pokemon and you want to get it back, but you want something that's Versa-Seekerable that shuffles it in, because you want the maximum value. Something like Clara wouldn't be bad, but Brock's is better because you can consistently chain the Pokemon with Rescue Carrier and Eldegoss's Cotton Lift to chain the energy. Brock's Crit's played pretty good. You use like 2 of them a game probably. If things go bad, 1 of them a game. Otherwise, it's quite a good card though. 4 copies of Level Ball. Search your deck for a Pokemon with 90 HP or less. Reveal it, put it into your hand. This searches your entire deck, so it's the best card for here. And because you play quite a lot of Pokemon, we also play 3 copies of Pokémon Communication. Maybe not the best search option, but I didn't really want to put a ton of discard synergy because these items are quite precious, and you don't want to be throwing them away with things like Ultra Ball. Pokémon Communication's done the job pretty well. It allows me to conserve these guys in the deck out of my hand if I'm going to research, which is also nice. And it allows me to just search out any Pokemon if I have a Pokemon in hand. 3 copies of Rescue Carrier, put up to 2 Pokemon, each with 90 HP or less, from your discard pile into your hand. You may notice all of these have 90 HP or less. Yep, so you can get everything with Rescue Carrier. 3 copies of Versa-Seeker, put a support card from your discard pile into your hand. If you want to get back any of these, 3 counts pretty good, gives you consistency. Could potentially go 4 of, but I don't think you need 4. 3 runs pretty well. Get back any of these cards. You know, that's all you need. 3 copies of Energy Retrieval, put 2 basic energy from your discard pile into your hand. Again, energies can be sometimes difficult. You could go a 2-2 split, we'll talk about that in a sec, but Energy Retrieval is pretty good. You just get your energy back, and then you accelerate it right back with Spring Bloom to your next attacker. 1 copy of Energy Recycler, shuffle up to 5 basic energy from your discard pile into your deck. Use this when you have a big Ambipom go down. You shuffle 5 back in, Cotton Lift for 2, and you probably draw into a couple too. But yeah, I think you have to play a copy of Energy Recycler I found. So I would not play 0, but you could play 2-2. I could see an argument for that. I think 3-1 plays pretty well though, so that's what I'm doing. 2 copies of Blunder Policy. You'll probably never see another deck play this, and honestly, you could cut this for something else. It's not like the best thing ever. I just think it's funny. If the Pokemon this card's attached to flips tails for the effect of an attack, draw 3 at the end of your turn. Now, this does a few things, but primarily it's for full tilt fling. It can work for Bustle too, and that's why I play this Aipom over the Cosmic Eclipse one in here, which I do have on PGO, is because if you flip tails for an attack, you just get to draw 3, and that's pretty good. There have been situations where I'm almost actually decked out with this card, funny enough. Thank God Brock's Grit's there to make sure that doesn't happen. But if you flip tails and Bustle, there's 3 cards. But most importantly, if I were to just say flip 5 coins with full tilt fling and I get 4 heads and 1 tails, I still get to draw 3 because I flipped tails for the effect of the attack. That's incredible. So you get to not only take a KO, but also get 3 cards. There's, like I said, some other potential options you could throw in here, maybe just a way to recycle your other tools and stuff. You could potentially run more consistency, but Blunder Policy is actually pretty good in here. It helps you draw into your pieces again, which I quite like, because this deck does have a lot of moving pieces, especially if you're flipping a lot of tails on dexterity. So 2's played fine. I wouldn't go any more than 2. 1 copy of U-Turn Board, retreat costs 1 less. If it's discarded from play, put it into your hand instead of this card pile. Gives everything except for Cherrim for retreat, but Cherrim can just attach a U-Turn board, attach an energy from hand, then retreat if need be. It's probably never going to get stuck in the active, though. I've literally never had to do that. So, U-Turn board's just there to give you free retreat. 1 copy of Life Dew. If the Pokemon this card is attached to is knocked out, your opponent takes 1 fewer prize. You want to make them to go through 7 Ambipoms. Like I said, you could potentially add another one in here. A card you could add is like a Roseanne's backup to recover this, recover a Pokemon, recover a Stadium, and recover an energy. I just don't think it's worth it. I think that's perfectly fine as is. Life Dew is just good. It forces your opponent to go through a 7th Pokemon. That's fine. You can just also slap it on Jirachi to dissuade them from gusting it, so that's fine too. 1 copy of Chaotic Swell, just to prevent your opponent from playing stadiums. You don't really have a stadium you'd want other than Training Court. You could play Training Court, but you don't want your opponent to have Training Court too. It almost benefits them just as much. So I don't think Training Court's the best option here. You could potentially run Training Court and Radiant Greninja. That is an option. Another option you could do in here is a bench barrier Pokemon. I tend to just not worry about the unwinnable matchups when I'm playing these kind of decks, though. Playing these like low ladder decks, I tend to like not worry about stuff like, you know, ADP Dragonite and Kyogre spread, stuff like that that you're just gonna auto lose to regardless if you play techs. It's just not worth teching in the thing that beats, you know, quote unquote beats that matchup. If you play a Ranger in here, you're still gonna lose to ADP Dragonite, for instance. If you play a Mew from Broken Bonds, you might get 1 to 2 turns from a spread deck, but they're going to take it out, and then you're going to be on the chopping block, and they're going to get through you pretty fast. You just really can't respond to those decks. If you do face a spread deck, the best method to deal with it is just to set up Ambipom, Aipom, or 2 Ambipoms, right? Just keep setting up these guys and just force them to hit spreads through your Primex dexterities and just kind of ignore the rest of your deck. But spread decks are just not a good matchup. I don't think adding a Pokemon that's another bench spot is going to help that. You could potentially cut this line, get 4 slots in your deck, add like a Mew from Unbroken Bonds, your Stadium of choice, maybe a Radiant Greninja Training Court package. There's a lot you could do with this list. I just don't think you want to attack for matchups that are just bad anyway. You can just kind of force yourself through the spread matchups if you just get lucky enough on coin flips with these Ambipoms anyway, so that's probably what you're doing in those cases. Play 11 copies of Grass. I love this Grass. I don't like the Harkle Silver Energy is kind of so-so for the most part, but Celebi, I love Celebi. Celebi's great. So yeah, you play this, you can consistently power up your attacks, and you don't want to play too many because you don't want to brick on them, but you don't want to play too few because then you run out or don't have enough to do like a huge attack if a few are prized. So typically going to prize like 1 to 2 of them per game, so 9 plays pretty well until you get your other ones out. Yeah, this is my little Ambipom deck list here. Kind of just a little fun ladder experiment. Don't take it too seriously. If you're making critiques about my deck like they're meta picks, then you're doing the wrong thing. Most of the channel is just me exploring rogue ideas that I come up with playing the expanded ladder. So if you enjoyed this video, though, make sure to check out some of my other deck lists. Got lots of fun little stall and control ideas, as well as some mill decks and a few out there damaging decks. This has been the Ambipom deck list profile, the straightforward Ambipom, not the stall variant. Try it for yourself in PTCGO. Maybe you want to make some changes. This list is not perfect. I've literally played 10 games with it, but I am confident about a lot of my choices in here. So, yeah. Anyway, thank you all so much for watching.